Now, Art, let's tell people, when they see you on our program, they see you in fatigues, it looks like. Well, sir, can you explain to our viewing audience just why they see you in fatigues on our show?
Certainly. At the time we made those tapes, I was a major in the United States Army teaching at West Point, and those tapes were officially commissioned by the Army for use in training both at West Point and in ROTC.
So actually, friends, when we watch Art on our show here, those are actual U.S. military training tapes taped when he was at West Point. Now, Art, your credentials are, I've known you for a long time, and our folks out there, they know us pretty darn well. A lot of folks, I'm sure they still come to your booth, and wherever you're out, they say, hey, I've seen you on the shooting show. I imagine that still happens
more
around.
More than a few. Yes, indeed, more than a few.
So, friends, we're talking about a situation here that we know each other very well, and those of you who've been watching us, this is our 8th year on the air. Now, Art, you had something of a strange thing happen. Had a little sort of hiccup in your business. When I say a hiccup in your business, was that an adequate phrase? Probably maybe a little bit light there.
That's rather mild, I'm afraid.
Well, Art, something happened that we think that everyone who cares about this program certainly cares about you and knows you and has seen the wonderful instruction you've given over the years. Let's tell them what happened to you a little over a year ago.
Certainly.
That I didn't know about, in fact, until you couldn't talk about it.
We couldn't talk about it. On the 19th of December, 1996, we were the victim of a coordinated simultaneous attack by 14 armed agents of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and U.S. Customs. They attacked both my house and my business simultaneously.
Well, now, wait a minute, Art. This is insane. Here you are, a public person, a public personality. You build hunting rifles. I mean, wait a minute. How many terrorist lions or rhinos do we know about here? I mean, that's insane. Why in the world would they come after you?
Well, that's a good question. We're not exactly sure, but as the truth comes out in a court of law, we'll find out.
Well, now, friends, wait a minute. We're talking about a retired colonel from U.S. military with impeccable credentials. I mean, this is scary because, this could happen to me, could happen to the judge, could happen to any of us, because we don't really know. But let's describe briefly what they do now. The business was bad enough. But you had a number of people in no uniform, no badge displayed, with guns displayed. Let's describe what happened at your home.
Yes, indeed. At my house, my wife was alone at the time. It was about 10 o'clock in the morning. 6 armed men, no uniform, no ID, with guns prominently displayed, pounded on the door. And when she opened the door, they immediately barged in, shoved her back against the wall. Then they restricted her to the kitchen, told her she couldn't make any phone calls. They told her they had a search warrant and they were coming in. They refused to show identification. They refused to show the search warrant. Then they began searching through the house. They tore open Christmas presents. They tore open my wife's tampons. They forced her to sit down and make an inventory of her jewelry and estimate the value of it. Then they took her down to the home office and they forced her to answer questions about her travels as a speaker at elementary schools and her knowledge about my business, and their threat was that they would confiscate her computer. She's an author. She writes children's books. She had one on the computer that she was editing. Had they taken the computer, it would have been devastating financially. Then they took her into the bedroom and went through all of the drawers in the bedroom, holding up lingerie and making snide comments about her. Then they restricted her to the living room, and she could hear them in the basement breaking up my rifles by swinging them against the wall.
Now, wait a minute, Art. We have read about different things that the ATF, of course, they have been somewhat remarkable, some of their folks. That little incident down in Waco, Texas, and of course, the Ruby Ridge incident with the government, the so-called hostage rescue team, whatever they do. It's incredible that I don't understand that happening in the United States of America today, except we now have some, well, let's be honest about it, we have some cowboy types in the U.S. government who work for the government that are not apparently under the same rules and regulations that we are. Is that correct?
I would believe so, yes. I think we've got a problem. I don't know whether we've got renegade agents who had a vendetta against me. I don't know if we have renegade agents who think they are following some party line, or I don't know if we have just one more incident of the some 140 separate armed federal police forces which have no internal review board, no civilian ombudsman, or any other checks and balances.
Well, this is pretty outrageous. And one, the good news is here, friends, Art survived. Now, I know your wife, and she is a lovely, gentle, kind person, and I imagine this was a horrible shock when these, I mean, friends, being held at gunpoint in your own home by people you don't know if they're the police or not, because they had no identification, they had no badges, they had no, wait a minute, it's bad enough at the business. All right, you've been in war, so I mean, you can deal with a lot of stuff, but your wife is not a warrior, as I understand. I mean, she was never, I mean, she's a typical homemaker. I mean, it's
pretty devastating. It's pretty devastating, and the only comment I'd put on that is you don't necessarily need penetration to have rape.
Well, friends,
bottom line.
Now then, we all this said, and they came in and took your records, did some things. You had your attorneys come down and
at the business, yes. Now at the business, there were 9 of them, none in uniform, no ID of any sort. The leader of the raid refused to show me his ID. I then asked him for the search warrant. He refused. I asked him a second time for his ID, and he said that he would give me a copy of his business card when he was through. I responded that I didn't think Kinko's was an official arm of the federal government, and his response to that was, any more trouble out of you and I'll arrest you.
Well, that's really a threatening remark.
That's very threatening.
Well, now hold the phone just a moment here. All right. You have not been arrested.
That is correct.
You have not been charged with any crime.
No arrest, no indictment, no charge,
no nothing.
No notice, no grand jury, nothing.
Nothing. So apparently,
because I've committed no crime. I committed no crime. I did nothing wrong.
We have a little piece of paper here that you have.
Yes.
Go right ahead. Now, friends, we have a detailed description, shall we say, of what has happened here.
Yes.
And Art will make this available, and we're going to have a number here in just a few minutes. Art will make, if you'd like to see the whole list of charges and what happened, Art will make this available. Now, wait a minute, friends, we're not talking about somebody off in Podunk, USA. We're talking about Art Alphin. We're talking about A Square. We're talking about normal us. I mean, this is one of the best-known custom firearms companies in America, even the world. What are they doing? This is crazy. And here's the deal. Here's why we're on today. Because the more of you that know about this, the better off we are, because there's one thing that can fix it. The government can't fix this, although you're going to work on them in court. Public opinion. The more of us know about these things, this is our protection. There's strength in numbers here, friends, and we darn sure want Art. One, I'm glad. I know that you are a real fighter when it comes to what's right. I know you. And friends, we just want to show our support for what Art is doing, his position. We wish you a lot of luck. There's even an escrow account if people would want to help, because this is very expensive legally. Am I correct?
That is correct. The legal fees are kind of staggering.
But you're going to, if I know Art, and we hope, we certainly wish the very best for your personal health and safety. Very important. He's taking every precaution possible for his and his family's safety, because, hey, some of these folks, they play a little rougher than their track record is not good, shall we say, about how they treat people. So we don't know, but we know this. The more of us know about this, if you'd like to contribute, help Art's financial situation on it is an escrow account, on his legal fees. But I know this, Art, you're going after him, aren't you? On the courts, you're going to make them eat some whatever affidavits or whatever. You're going to find out, huh?
I'm not going to let it go. I swore an oath to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I spent 25 years defending the country against the evil empire. If it takes me 25 years to bring these enemies domestic before the bar of justice, I'm going to do it.